gathered from other areas of the country who do have protective ordinances. Board Member Letty said at the last work session, although minutes were not posted so the public wouldn't know, he said, "We haven't wanted anything new." Nothing new? Are you kidding me? New heart studies came out and were presented. The World Health Organization changed their DBA recommendation to 40 and said wind turbines cause adverse health effects. We presented to you, we presented a report to you by Dr. Chris Olson, not a medical doctor. He advocated in Canada for 40 dBA, but wants us to live with 45 or 50. Double the noise. That is double the noise. Is he a community noise expert? No, he is not. Is he an acoustician? No. What is his expertise? Chemical toxicology? Rocket scientist? Turbine engineer? Which one of you knows? He answers questions on everything, and you take his words as gospel. And the peer-reviewed articles and documents we give you are highly regarded as the gnats flying around your heads. You cannot arbitrarily pick out a number from thin air, put a circle on a map to protect your financial interest. Members of the planning board are clearly protecting their self-interest and not the public health and safety of this county. Seat a board without financial self-interest and see how the ordinance changes in favor of the county residents. We have told you about testimony at the PUC of South Dakotans abandoning their homes. People who can't work outside when the turbines are running because it looks like the roof is flying off their barn. They can't sleep, so they sleep in their cars. People who can't drive to town because the spinning blades make the road look like it's rolling. We told you the dangers of ice throw and blade throw by turbines being too close to the roads. You have to understand the cumulative effect. But those who have conflict have ignored it all. When we had alternates seated, they listened, they considered. They need to be in the seats of the members who stand to gain financially by the turbines being 1,500 feet from a home, stealing our property rights. This ordinance is incomplete and does not protect the public health and safety as per your ordinance. The PUC just put 40 dBA on a permit. They say over and over again, your county is not protecting you. You need to protect public health and safety. And also, if you guys think that they're great, add a property value guarantee. If you all believe what you're saying, add a property value guarantee. Thank you.
Brenna Gunderson, Molly Smith, Clark Mastel, Robert O'Neill. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. I do it every time. Wayne
Borgnine,
Borgnine.
Waverly, South Dakota. I'm going to stand up because I got fibromyalgia syndrome. It gets kind of hard sitting down all day. You know, my grandparents and my great-grandparents homesteaded in the Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota. You know, my mother's parents, my grandparents had 12 kids. They raised 12 kids in a one-room house up in North Dakota. They had a real close marriage to this land. My family had deep roots in this land. We care about it very much. You know, my parents taught me how to appreciate nature. When we went out in the field, I'd go take my dad lunch and he would shut everything off. Period. Shut it off. Silence. You know something? You could hear things that nobody else heard. And he would tell me what those little tiny sounds that you could hear in nature would make, what they were, what they meant. And he would even imitate those sounds. And my mother taught me those same values. That beautiful, beautiful value of nature around us. You know, and you know the monks of Blue Cloud Abbey built that beautiful abbey up there out here in the beautiful hills of South Dakota. And they put little retreat cabins where people came from all over the world, not just South Dakota. They came from other countries all over the United States, even to go to Blue Cloud Abbey to get something they can't get anyplace else in this whole world. Believe it, I've been around the world. It's a beautiful place. You sit up there, and I'll tell you what. You put a bunch of wind turbines down here across that valley, you'll never hear those them tiny sounds of nature again, because those wind turbines are going to be continuously making noise, blocking it out. And those people that go up there for retreats are going to look out over this county, a 500-foot wind tower sticking up, and probably the top of the tower is probably higher than the hill. They won't be able to have that beautiful view they ever had again. You know, I call this environmental destruction of one of our most valuable resources in the name of saving the environment for the sake of money. Just for money. You can't buy all of these things. My grandparents knew that. These pioneers knew that. My great-grandparents spent the whole winter, and my great-aunt told me all they had was jackrabbits and eggs all winter out in Bison, South Dakota on their homestead. But they didn't complain because they loved this land and they loved the freedom that came with it. Now, another area. Next area has said that in case of an emergency, things come flying off, they're going to notify the participating landowner, who in many of the cases, how many of them landowners actually live right there close to the turbine? But I noticed they didn't say a word. You didn't tell them that they had to notify. All of these non-participating landowners were sitting in the shadow of that turbine who were in danger. Is that protecting the people? I don't think so. It's crazy. And these people don't have a choice. Under your present ordinance, you just voted on 2 projects tonight. You didn't give any of us a choice. You just said, bang, this is it. You're going to get it, and that's it. Tough luck. Well, another thing, I just read a report this morning of an incident of a wind turbine flying apart, and they had pictures of fiberglass pieces 2 miles from the turbine. Okay? You turn around, take a South Dakota wind 30 to 40 mile an hour with 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. It catches on fire, starts flying apart, no little fiberglass pieces. They're not going to stop at 2 miles. They're going to go farther. So I think that 2 mile setback with a waiver is a good start. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Time's up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Owen.
Thank you. Kevin Owen, Stockholm, South Dakota. I'm representing myself and on behalf of the Owen family. I wish to address each of you collectively and as to your individual oaths of office in my personal capacity as a resident landowner and elector of Grant County. I have no official duties to perform in discharge concerning the adoption of the zoning ordinance or any amendments thereto, or in the ruling of the pending CUP applications of Dakota Range or Crown Wind projects. At this point, however, I feel the need to speak and clearly communicate to you my personal views on these matters. The Owen family, including my brother, Kelly, my father, and my mother, and our respective children. We all have land holdings in Stockholm Township, and your official actions are now colliding with those interests. I have prepared this statement in collaboration with my counsel. Please consider the following comments in your further deliberations. Several of you are believed to be involved as landowners within the boundaries of these wind projects, or you have close family members who are also involved. Although I am not working from a list of names and legal descriptions, I believe this to be so. This would suggest to me that the members having this kind of interest in wind projects are self-interested. I have both reviewed and approved the 4-page letter written by attorney A.J. Swanson to our state's attorney Mark Riedstrom. I believe you have that in your packet, dated December 10th, 2018, concerning the conflicts of interest so apparent amongst some of you as the county's governing officials. The state's attorney is a friend of mine. I also consider Mark to be a great example of public servant of Grant County. The viewpoints stated here cannot be sidestepped or ignored. If you do not set an example and carry out your oath of office set by the South Dakota Constitution, Article 21 and 3, or willingly and honestly recuse yourself when you have a self-interest in the matter, we are left with no alternative but to pursue legal action, and I do not expect my family will be alone in this effort. The consequences of due recusal are pretty clear when on November 13, 2018, 2 members of the Board of Adjustment agreed that they had conflicts of interest and left the building, rather than to participate in the Crown Ridge Wind Cups then on the agenda. The 2 alternates then seated went on to clearly upset the expected outcome, approving on a 4-3 vote a required 3-mile quarter setback for those non-participating owners. That, of course, has changed today. The County Board is being urged to adopt zoning ordinance amendments that, in my opinion, do not adequately protect the public or the interests of many non-participating residents of the county. There are many problems associated with living in or near so-called wind farm. Grant County's governmental machinery is stated as being used to favor the wind developers and project participants by invading and occupying the lands and land interests of non-participating landowners, including the Owen family. We have not consented to taking or infringement of our land rights, nor has just compensation been paid to us. We have given up none of our property rights for the benefit of these developers, and the Owen family, along with others of our county, will be seeking judicial intervention so as to protect those rights in the public interest. With that being said, I don't have time to finish some of this, but I would like to say, I want you to take notice, and I want each of you to notice the obligation to preserve any and all discoverable and potentially relevant evidence, documents, or information in your possession, custody, and control. This is to include all electronic information related to your role in review of the approval of any CUP for any one farm development or in the writing and development of amendments. The Owen family thanks each of you for taking the time to carefully consider this. Thank you. Chris Dudley.
Philip Tacker. Jolie Hicks. George Holborn. You've been standing there a long time.
Getting old. So am I.
Yeah, holding up the post.
George Holborn, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Nearly a year ago, and again in September 2018, I asked the Dual County D&Z Board of Adjustment what they knew about the 4.2 megawatt turbines being proposed. I never received an answer. Subsequently, Ruby and I listened to expert testimony at Prevailing Winds PUC here and here. It indicated new science has linked turbines to negative health impacts. In an email, we asked Richard James, who had testified at that hearing as an expert witness, to comment on the impact of 4.2 megawatt turbines. He wrote us a letter in reply. I would like to address the potential for adverse impacts to people who are living in or near the footprint of a 4.2 wind turbine. There is no experience using land-based turbines of this size in communities with residential and rural property where people occupy or work in homes or other structures. What is known about the larger models, beginning with the 2 and 2.5 megawatt turbines, is they produce significant infra and low frequency pulsations that result in a consistent set of complaints that related to sensations, pressure, tinnitus, dizziness, nausea, headaches, and so on. I can no longer say that a 1.25 miles is enough setback. It would be best for a large setback and a protective threshold to be set by local authorities. This does not preclude the developer with entering into agreements with non-participating landowners to compensate them for any noise, trespass, or their properties, and for the resulting annoyance and other adverse impacts. In district court last Thursday, the final arguments were heard in Dual County Courthouse. It occurred to me, why am I here? I concluded it is due to U.S. senators like Mike Rounds and John Thune, who supported the mandate for renewables and a production tax credit to encourage wind developers to build wind farms and contribute money to their re-election campaigns. It is because our tight-fisted conservative governor has been willing to give millions of taxpayer dollars to wind developer energy companies. It is because of wind developer campaign ads for Dusty Johnson for support of big wind. It is because I get the impression that PUC is unwilling to save innocent families from turbines until the legislature gives them political cover. Last Thursday, our lawyer indicated it should take roughly a month for a decision to be rendered. Should Grant County officials, whether appointed or elected, be in a hurry to comply with the schedule of our governor, U.S. senators, 1st District, or a wind developer? Arguably, at this moment in Grant County history, this could be your legacy. Have you considered your position accurately? I know my position. Ruby and I will lose more than $250,000 to extricate ourselves from the Dual County tax rolls. I am here today because Dual County officials did not take the time to read their mail or do their research on behalf of innocent families being forced to live among the turbines. Jeff Haverly of Governor's Office of Economic Development stated, "We recognize there is important local discretion that must take place during any project, and therefore we do not take a position on citing the project such as this." 2 miles with waiver from the property line.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gary Elbrock.
Gary Elbrock, Goodland, South Dakota. I just hope you guys are listening to what George said and what everybody else has said in this tonight. It means something. I don't know if this gentleman's taking notes or writing a love letter to his mom. You know, we all need to pay attention. This means something. You guys know it. Everybody knows it. You know, they talk about firm capacity. I want to be able to go over and turn that light switch on, make it come on. Wind power doesn't do that. There's only one source of energy that does that. Nuclear. It's nuclear, it's coal, it's natural gas, it's hydro. Wind is at the bottom. Wind is 1%. And it's got to have something to make it run. And for you guys not to listen, I just can't believe it. It's just hard to believe. So with that said, I hope you make the right decision. Hope you change some stuff that's good for the people of Grant County. Things will happen. It's happening in Dual County. It's going to happen here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Chris, GIESCN. That is the list of everyone that had signed up through this evening. Madam Chair, I guess we could quick ask if there was somebody we missed that wanted to talk about proposed ordinance changes. If not, you can close the public.
Have we missed anybody on comments? Would somebody like to speak yet? All right, go ahead. You can come up to the front. Give your name and where you live.
I'm Sylvia Marchetti and I live in Marvin. And I would just leave us with the thought that of Chief Joseph's words, what we do to the web, we do to ourselves. And also that we are obligated to be responsible for 7 generations down the road. That's why this land was the way it was when the pioneers came.
Is there anyone else? Seeing nobody else, I will close the public hearing and bring this matter before the commission for discussion. Does any planning commissioner have comments?
You want me to restate the motion?
You can restate the motion.
Currently, the motion is to recommend approval with or without amendments, depending on what comes up here, of ordinance 1016-01C to the Grant County Board of County Commissioners.
We are still open for discussion.
Yes.
Right,
There's
yeah.
still
Yeah, we're in discussion.
any discussion
And or amendments can.
on the motion, or with or without amendments? I mean,
Madam Chair, do you want me to explain quickly what happens, how, depending on what happens with your vote? Where it goes?
Yeah, you can explain if you have.
We can discuss it. That's fine.
Yeah, as far as, depending on what happens here, if you were to move the motion forward with or without amendments, the next step in the process is that there would be a first reading scheduled tomorrow with the Grant County Commissioners, where they would set a second reading date. Then there will be a second reading, at which time there will be another public hearing in front of the Grant County Commissioners. At which time, then the Grant County Commissioners can do one of several things. They can either approve what you've given them, thumbs up. They can deny it, thumbs down. They can come up with an amendment and and send it back to you, and you will have another public hearing on that amendment, or they can make an amendment and have a public hearing amongst themselves 2 weeks later, and another public hearing. So, once it leaves here, you may see it again, or you may not.
Clear as mud.
I know.
There's mud.
All right, you have something you want to bring up for discussion?
Yeah, I got the Apex Grant County documents here. There's just a overview on property values and rights, and I read through the whole thing, and I was, I read both sides. And I'm not against wind energy. My voting record will prove that. But I think there's room for compromise that hasn't been met. I think there's still room. Anyway, they went through quite a deal there. I don't know how many 16 pages till I got to the last page. And this was, I believe, at the Public Utilities Commission. I'm not sure. It doesn't say on here. But one of the things they talked about in here, they did quite an extensive review of property. They did it on a comparison study. They did it on a whole county-based study, and all of, pretty, quite a bit of statistic and whatever. But the thing that got me was the very end, when Mr. Mausenberg attached this to the Brooklyn County 215 was when this property value survey was, and it was a testimony of Exhibit 1. And this Mr. Maros, maybe you guys know him, I don't. But anyway, he concurred with the study in his testimony. And then they asked him if he agreed with the methodology and the results of the study. And this is in your own book. And he replied, "No, I do not agree. I have read the Brooklyn County 2015 Value Survey developed by Prevailing Winds, LLC. And the results of the study could be misleading. Moreover, it does not follow accepted appraisal methodology for the study of this type. The data was developed by Prevailing Winds, LLC, who is an advocate for wind energy in South Dakota. The purpose of the study is this nature is to promote and maintain a high level of public trust in the development and reporting of such results. There is no way to ascertain if the assessment was developed with impartiality, objectivity, and independence. Personal interests and bias surround the author of the study, as previously discussed in my direct testimony, and I don't have that, on page 13. Assessment value is not market value. Assessment value can be higher or lower than market value. And I have difficulty understanding the correlation in using assessment value trends to measure the impact on a market value from a wind project. Mass appraisal techniques are used for assessing thousands of properties in a county for taxation, not determine if an individual property shows a negative or positive influence from an externality such as a wind tower. I think there's real cause for reflection on what we're talking about if we're going to really talk about property values. We can have both sides, but it's obvious that there's a big difference in opinion. And I think that leaves room for a little bigger setback in what we've proposed. Part of it. The Public Utilities Commission, just recently here, with Prevailing Winds, they approved the permit, but with condition. And those conditions are 40 dBA and 15 minutes of flicker for non-participating. And I don't know why we as a board can't do at least that much here. If it's already come from the Public Utilities Commission. Why can't we make that same requirement? I don't think we're out of line. We're past the two applications that we approved tonight. This is looking